Hi, this video is on topic 7, water pollution. In this topic, you will learn about the causes and effects of water pollution, major water pollution problems, and water pollution prevention. Water pollution is defined as any chemical, biological, or physical change in water quality that harms living organisms and makes water unsuitable for desired use. Water pollution can come from single point source or from larger and dispersed, which is the non-point sources. Point sources discharge pollutants at specific locations through drain pipes, ditches, or sewer lines into bodies of surface water. For example, include the factory sewage treatment plants, underground mines, and oil tanker. Because point sources are located at specific places, they are fairly easy to identify, monitor, and regulate. Whereas the non-point sources are broad and diffuse areas rather than points from which pollutants enter bodies of surface water. Examples include runoff of chemicals and sediments from the cropland, livestock, log forests, urban street, parking lots, and many more. We have made little progress in controlling water pollution from the non-point sources because of the difficulty and expense of identifying and controlling discharges from so many diffuse sources. This table shows the major water pollutants and their sources. There are many types of pollutants in the water, such as infectious agents, oxygen-demanding wastes, plant nutrients, organic and inorganic chemicals, heavy metals, and thermal. For example, infectious agents such as bacteria, viruses, protozoa, and parasites can cause disease and harmful when intake. Most of these infectious agents are from human and animal waste. Plant debris and biodegradable animal wastes are categorized as oxygen-demanding wastes, which can deplete the dissolved oxygen that is needed by the aquatic animals in the water. Nitrates and phosphates are nutrients that normally come from inorganic fertilizer, sewage, and animal wastes that cause eutrophication. Whereas organic and inorganic chemicals in water are very toxic to the aquatic system. Heavy metals such as arsenic, mercury, and lead can cause cancer and disrupt the immune and endocrine system. And lastly, thermal from the industrial and electric power can cause heat in water and make species vulnerable to disease. Some of the major water pollution problems are eutrophication. The natural nutrient enrichment of a shallow lake, estuaries, or slow-moving stream is mostly from the runoff plants nutrients such as nitrates and phosphate from surrounding land. In agricultural areas, human activities can accelerate the nutrient input, and this process is called cultural eutrophication. Near urban or agricultural areas, human activities can greatly accelerate the input of plant nutrients to a lake. This process is known as cultural eutrophication, which involves mostly nitrates and phosphates containing effluents from various resources such as the farmland, animal feedlots, mining sites, untreated municipal sewage, and many others. This nutrient overload produces dense growth or algal blooms, which can reduce lake productivity and fish growth by decreasing the input of sunlight needed for photosynthesis by phytoplankton that support fish. When the algae die, they are decomposed by swelling population of aerobic bacteria, which deplete the dissolved oxygen. This can kill the fish and other aquatic organisms. Ways to prevent and reduce eutrophication. First is by using wastewater treatment, especially for nitrate and phosphate, to remove the nitrate and phosphate in the wastewater effluent before it is released in the surface water, such as rivers and streams. Secondly, is to ban or limit the usage of household products or other cleaning agents that contain phosphate. Thirdly, is to employ the soil conservation methods and land use control to reduce nutrient runoff. And lastly, to mechanically remove excess weeds and control undesirable plant growth. And then pump the air through lakes and reservoirs to prevent the oxygen depletion. Another water pollution problem is groundwater pollution. Groundwater can become contaminated with a variety of chemicals that are used in agriculture, industry, transportation, and home. These chemicals can spill and leak into groundwater and make it undesirable. When groundwater becomes contaminated, it cannot cleanse itself, dilute, and disperse like flowing surface water does. The contamination of groundwater is a serious threat to human health, especially when it is used as a prime source of water for drinking and irrigation. Groundwater flows less than 0.3 meters per day. Thus, contaminants are not diluted and dispersed effectively. Groundwater usually has a much lower concentration of dissolved oxygen and smaller population of decomposing bacteria. Besides, the temperature is colder. This slows down the chemical reactions that decompose wastes. These are some of the methods for preventing groundwater contamination. Number one is to find substitute for toxic substances. Number two is to keep toxic chemicals out of the environment. Number three is to install monitoring wells near the landfill and underground tanks. Number four, install leak detector for underground tanks. Number five, ban hazardous waste disposal in a landfill. And number six, store harmful liquids above ground tanks with a leak detection and collection system. Methods for cleaning up groundwater contamination. First is to pump the groundwater to the surface. Then, clean and return to the aquifer. This is the most expensive method. Or you may inject the microorganism to clean up the contamination. This method is less expensive but still costly. Other than all of these, you may pump the nanoparticles of inorganic compounds to remove pollutants in the groundwater. Nowadays, the pollution of coastal water is becoming severe. This is because 40% of the world's population live or near the coast, and 14 of the world's 15 largest metropolitan areas are near the coastal water. Most of the municipal and industrial sewage in this area is dumped into the ocean. The ocean pollution comes from different sources such as cities, industries, construction sites, agriculture farm, and also as a result of urban sprawl. Toxic metals and oil from streets and parking lots pollute the waters and sewage, which adds nitrogen and phosphorus to the ocean. Besides, the toxic chemicals and heavy metals in industrial effluents also flows into bays and estuaries and contaminates the ocean. Runoff of pesticides, manure, and fertilizer from the nearby agriculture farm also add toxin and excess of nitrogen and phosphorus to the ocean. Meanwhile, the urban sprawl spread the bacteria and viruses from sewers and septic tanks to the shellfish beds and nearby beaches. Last but not least, the construction site can cause sediment to wash into the waterways, which causes stability in water and blocks the sunlight to reach the aquatic plants in the ocean. Oil pollution can also affect the ocean's life. Volatile organic hydrocarbons in oil immediately kill a number of aquatic organisms, especially their vulnerable larval forms. Other chemicals in oil form a tar-like globe which floats on the water surface and coats the feathers of birds and the fur of marine mammals. These oil coatings destroy their natural insulation and buoyancy, causing many of them to drown or die of exposure from loss of body heat. Heavy oil components that sink to the ocean floor or wash into the estuaries can smother the bottom dwelling organisms such as crabs, oysters, and mussels, or make them unfit for human consumption. Some of oil spills have killed coral reef. Oil slicks that wash onto beaches can have a serious economic impact on coastal residents who lose the income from fishing and tourist activities. These are some of the ways to prevent the coastal water pollution. Number one is to reduce the input of toxic pollutants. Number two is to separate the sewage and storm lines. Number three is ban dumping of wastes and sewage by maritime and cruise ship in the coastal water. Number four, ban ocean dumping of sludge and hazardous dredge material. Number five, protect sensitive areas from development, oil drilling, and oil shipping. And lastly, recycle used oil. These are some of the solutions to water pollution. Firstly, prevent the groundwater contamination. Secondly, reduce the non-point runoff. Thirdly, to reuse treated wastewater for irrigation. Fourth, find substitutes for toxic pollutants. Fifth, practice good waste management. Sixth, reduce air pollution. And lastly, slow down population growth. What can you do? As a responsible human being that loves the earth, you must use organic fertilizer for your garden and lawn. Minimize the use of pesticides, especially near the bodies of water. Prevent the yard waste from entering the storm drains. Do not flush unwanted medicine down the toilet. Do not pour or throw pesticides, paints, solvents, oil, or any harmful products down the drain or onto the ground. Let's together save and protect our water resources. That's all for this topic. See you in the next following topic. Bye.